I'm Ibrahim Traoré, and I've witnessed the struggles of my people, the fear in their eyes, the loss of their homes, the shattering of their dreams. Yet I also see their resilience, their bravery, and together we'll rebuild Burkina Faso into a nation that stands proud, fearless, and unstoppable. Tucked in the heart of West Africa, Burkina Faso is a hidden gem, often overlooked. Its landscapes weave a tapestry of golden savannas glowing under the fierce sun, dotted with ancient baobab trees and rolling hills that seem to murmur tales of the past. Villages hum with life, where elders sit under shaded trees, sharing stories of ancestors with eager children. The Burkina are the heartbeat of this land, known for their warmth and fierce pride in their roots. Markets buzz with energy traders call out, offering vibrant kente cloth, hand-carved wooden masks, and baskets brimming with millet, yams, and mangoes. During festivals, the air pulses with the rhythm of traditional gem drums as dancers, in colorful costumes, sway and sync, celebrating a culture that's thrived for centuries. But life here has always been a delicate balance with hardship. The Sahel's harsh climate brings scorching heat and unpredictable rains, making farming a test of endurance and grit. Poverty is a constant for many, yet the Burkina find strength in their communities, turning struggle into moments of shared joy and resilience. Beneath this vibrant surface, though a storm was brewing, the Sahel, a vast stretch of land across West Africa, was becoming a hotspot for chaos. Its sprawling deserts, dense forests, and remote mountains offered perfect hideouts for armed groups, insurgents driven by greed, ideology, or desperation. They saw Burkina Faso's open borders and unguarded lands as easy targets. Villages, once filled with laughter and trade, began to tremble with fear. Attacks struck without warning, homes burned, livestock stolen, families forced to flee into the night. Bustling markets turned into ghost towns, their stalls covered in dust. Schools closed, leaving kids without books, teachers, or dreams. Gunfire drowned out the rhythms of daily life, and a nation known for its warmth became known for its suffering. Burkina Faso was caught in a crisis it didn't create, fighting to hold on to its identity and future. But the Burkina spirit, though battered, refused to break. This was a nation of survivors, people who'd faced droughts, famine, and poverty with unwavering resolve. They weren't about to let insurgents steal their way of life. Frustration grew into a fire of determination, sparking protests across towns and cities. Farmers left their fields, teachers abandoned their chalkboards, and mothers marched with their children, their voices rising as one. They demanded more than empty promises. They wanted a leader who'd act, who'd fight for their safety and their future. Burkina Faso stood at a crossroads. It could sink into despair or rise stronger than ever. The people chose to rise. Their collective strength was a testament to their unbreakable will. In this moment of unity and defiance, Ibrahim stepped forward, a leader determined to turn their pain into power, their fear into hope, and lead Burkina Faso toward a future no one thought possible. This crisis wasn't just about attacks, it was about a way of life being stolen. Imagine waking up unsure if your home would still stand by nightfall. Farmers stopped tending their fields, too scared to venture far. Roads that once carried goods to lively markets became dangerous, ambushed by insurgents who struck and vanished. Supplies dried up, shops closed, and the economy began to crumble. Families who relied on selling crops or crafts could no longer make ends meet. Vibrant markets, once alive with chatter and color, stood empty, their stalls buried in dust. This wasn't just an economic loss, it was a loss of hope, a loss of the daily rhythms that held communities together. The emotional toll was even heavier. Parents watched their kids grow up in a world of fear, where gunfire was more familiar than laughter. Schools shut down, leaving children with nowhere to go, no chance to learn or dream. Young boys and girls saw more violence than opportunity, more bullets than books. An entire generation was at risk of being lost to this chaos, their futures stolen before they could begin. Families were torn apart, some fled to crowded refugee camps, others scattered to distant towns, unsure if they'd ever reunite. The Burkina, known for their strength, were being tested like never before. Their resilience was stretched thin, but it never broke. They knew they couldn't let fear win. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for the soul of the nation. The people of Burkina Faso, proud and strong, refused to let their country sink into despair. Frustration boiled over into action. Protests erupted across the nation. Ordinary citizens, men, women, young and old, marched together, their voices loud and clear. They demanded a leader who'd stand up to the insurgents, someone who wouldn't just talk about change but make it happen. The nation was at a crossroads. It could sink deeper into the abyss or rise stronger than ever. The Burkina chose to fight. They chose to believe in a better future. And it was in this moment of desperation and determination that Ibrahim Traoré stepped forward, a young leader with a vision to transform Burkina Faso from a victim of chaos into a symbol of strength. I'm no ordinary leader. I didn't come from privilege or hide behind high walls. Born in a small Burkina village, I grew up knowing the struggles of my people, the backbreaking work of farmers, the worry of parents unable to feed their kids, the fear of families living under the shadow of violence. I walked the same dusty paths as my neighbors, sat with them under the stars, and listened to their stories of loss and hope. I saw the pain in their eyes and felt it in my heart. Where others saw a nation on its knees, I saw potential at Burkina Faso that could stand tall, not just survive, but thrive. My vision wasn't about patching up old wounds, it was about building a new future, one where the Burkinabé could hold their heads high. When I took power, Burkina Faso was crumbling, the economy was in tatters, the military was outmatched, and communities were fractured by fear. Past leaders had relied on outdated tactics, slow, costly ground battles, or pleas for foreign aid that rarely came. I refused to follow that path. I gathered the nation's brightest minds, military strategists, tech experts, village elders, and young innovators. I traveled to the hardest-hit regions, sitting with farmers under mango trees, asking, "What do you need to feel safe again?" Their answers became my blueprint. I wasn't a leader who ruled from a distant office. I was a partner, working side by side with my people to rebuild our nation from the ground up. My approach was bold, even radical. I saw that the old ways, long marches through the bush, hoping to catch fleeting enemies, weren't working. I turned my eyes to the skies. Modern warfare, I knew, was about speed, precision, and control of the air. Insurgents had used Burkina Faso's vast terrain to hide, striking villages and vanishing before soldiers could respond. I decided to take that advantage away. I invested heavily in drones, surveillance planes, and air bases, transforming our military into a force that could outsmart and outmaneuver the enemy. This wasn't just a military strategy, it was a revolution, one that would turn a struggling nation into a beacon of strength and innovation, surprising the world with its resilience. In today's world, wars are won not just on the ground, but in the air. Controlling the skies means seeing the enemy before they see you, striking with precision, and protecting those who can't protect themselves. For Burkina Faso, with its sprawling deserts, dense forests, and rugged mountains, air power was a game-changer. Insurgents had always relied on the Sahel's terrain to stay hidden, slipping through thick bush, hiding in remote caves, vanishing into endless sands. Ground troops, no matter how determined, struggled to keep up. It could take days to reach a village under attack, and by then, the insurgents were gone, leaving only destruction. I saw the solution: take the fight to the air, where speed and vision could outmatch any enemy. Drones became the cornerstone of this new strategy. These small, high-tech machines were unlike anything Burkina Faso had used before. They could fly for hours, their cameras zooming in on a single figure moving through the trees or a truck speeding across the desert. Drones sent live video to military bases, letting commanders see exactly where the insurgents were, what they were doing, and where they were going. Unlike fighter jets, drones were affordable, easy to launch, and didn't need large crews. They could hover over a village, watching for danger, or track insurgents moving under cover of night. With drones in the sky, Burkina Faso had eyes everywhere, stripping away the insurgents' greatest weapon, the ability to hide. But my vision went beyond drones. I built air bases across the country, strategically placed to cover every region. These bases weren't just runways, they were hubs of innovation, housing surveillance planes, repair shops, and training centers. Fighter jets joined the fleet, ready to strike with pinpoint accuracy. This wasn't just about fighting, it was about protecting villages that had lived in fear for years, now had planes patrolling above, ready to stop attacks before they began. The skies, once a place of uncertainty, became a shield for Burkina Faso. My bold investment turned a weak military into a force that stunned the world, proving that even a small nation could become a giant when it dared to dream big. Drones were more than machines, they were Burkina Faso's lifeline, the eyes that never slept. Picture a small aircraft, no bigger than a car, soaring silently above the Sahel. Its cameras could spot a single person hiding in the bush, a group of armed men creeping through the forest, or a truck kicking up dust miles away. Drones could fly for hours, watching every move below, sending live updates to soldiers on the ground. For a country where insurgents used the vast terrain to disappear, drones were a miracle. They turned the tables, making the hunters the hunted. No longer could insurgents strike and vanish, the skies were always watching. The impact was immediate and profound. In one village, a drone spotted armed men approaching under cover of darkness before they could reach their target. The military was alerted, and the attack was stopped. The villagers, who had spent years hiding in fear, woke up safe, their homes untouched. For them, drones weren't just technology, they were hope, a sign that their country was fighting for them. In another region, drones tracked an insurgent supply route, leading to a hidden camp deep in the desert. A single airstrike, guided by drone data, destroyed it, cutting off the insurgents' resources. The enemy, who once thought they were untouchable, was now on the run, their plans unraveling under the watchful eyes of our drones. Drones weren't just about stopping attacks, they were about saving lives and resources. Fighter jets and large ground operations cost millions and require huge teams. Drones were different, affordable, efficient, and needing only a few trained operators to do the work of an entire battalion. For a nation with limited resources, this was a game changer. Drones could patrol vast areas, strike with precision, and gather intelligence without draining the economy. But their real power was in the confidence they gave. Farmers returned to their fields, knowing the skies were safe. Markets buzzed again with traders calling out and customers bargaining. Children ran to school, their laughter replacing the silence of fear. Drones didn't just fight a war, they brought life back to Burkina Faso, village by village. Technology alone doesn't win battles, people do. I understood this, so I invested in our greatest asset, the Burkina. I envisioned a new kind of army, one that was smart, skilled, and ready for the future. Training centers sprang up across Burkina Faso, teaching young men and women to fly drones, analyze surveillance data, and maintain high-tech equipment. These weren't just soldiers, they were specialists, trained to think fast, solve problems, and act with precision. They were the future of our defense, and I made sure they had the tools and knowledge to succeed. Take Honorine, a young woman from a small northern village. Growing up, she dreamed of flying, but in a country where military aviation was still new, her dream seemed out of reach. When my training programs began, Honorine saw her chance. She enrolled in a drone pilot course, spending long hours learning to navigate complex systems and read real-time data. Today, she's a military pilot, soaring above the Sahel, protecting her people. Her story is one of thousands young Burkinabé who found not just skills, but purpose. They're not just learning to fly drones, they're learning to defend their nation, to be part of a movement bigger than themselves. Honorine's pride, as she guides a drone over her village, is the pride of a nation reclaiming its future. My vision didn't stop with soldiers. I wanted every citizen to play a role in Burkina Faso's security. Farmers, traders, teachers, and students were trained to spot suspicious activity and report it to the military. Villages became part of a national network, watching out for each other. A farmer might notice a strange truck on a remote road and alert the authorities. A shopkeeper might report unfamiliar faces in the market. This wasn't just about defense, it was about unity. When everyone feels they're part of the fight, a nation becomes unstoppable. I turned the Burkina into our greatest strength, building an army not just in uniform, but in every heart, every home, every village. Air power needs a foundation, and for Burkina Faso, that foundation was our air bases. These weren't just runways, they were the backbone of our security, the pillars that held up my vision. Strategically placed across the country, air bases allowed the military to respond to threats in minutes, no matter where they were. Each base was a hive of activity, drones buzzing into the sky, technicians repairing equipment, analysts poring over data from surveillance flights. These bases turned our vast terrain from a weakness into a strength, covering every corner of the country with a protective shield. Building these bases was a massive task. It took years of planning, millions in investment, and countless hours of labor. Roads were carved through the bush to bring in supplies, cement, steel, and technology from across the world. Workshops were built to keep drones and planes in top shape, with mechanics working late into the night to ensure every machine was ready. Training centers taught recruits how to operate complex systems, from radar to drone controls. Every brick laid, every wire connected, was a step toward a stronger Burkina Faso. Villagers near the bases felt the change immediately. For years, they'd lived in fear, knowing help was days away. Now, with bases nearby, they could sleep soundly, knowing drones and jets were ready to protect them. The bases weren't just military outposts, they were symbols of hope, sending a clear message to the insurgents: your time is up. Drones launched from these bases could reach any corner of the Sahel, finding camps hidden in forests or supply lines snaking through the desert. Insurgents who once moved freely were now hunted, their movements tracked, their plans disrupted. The bases also inspired our neighbors. Countries like Mali and Niger, struggling with their own insurgent threats, began to study our model, building their own air bases and adopting drones. The quiet nation, once overlooked, was now a leader, showing the Sahel and the world what a determined people could achieve when they refused to give up. This transformation wasn't just about fighting insurgents, it was about bringing life back to our people. For years, villages had been paralyzed by fear. Farmers couldn't work their fields, afraid of attacks that came without warning. Traders stayed away from markets, leaving stalls empty and towns silent. Children stopped going to school, their classrooms abandoned, their dreams on hold. But as drones patrolled the skies and air bases stood guard, something incredible happened. The Burkina began to rebuild. Farmers returned to their fields, planting millet and sorghum under the watchful eyes of drones. Markets came alive again, filled with the sounds of bargaining, laughter, and the clink of coins. Picture Amina, a mother in a small village near Wahiguya. For years, she kept her children inside, terrified of insurgents lurking in the nearby bush. One morning, she hears the faint hum of a drone overhead. She knows it's watching, keeping her family safe. For the first time in years, she lets her son Kofi walk to school. He joins his friends, their backpacks bouncing as they run, free from fear. Amina goes to the market where traders are back, selling everything from cloth to mangoes. The market is alive again, its colors and sounds a reminder of the life they once had. Amina's story is one of thousands across Burkina Faso as communities reclaim their daily rhythms, their hope, their future. This revival wasn't just about markets and schools, it was about trust. For too long, the Burkinabe felt abandoned, left to face danger alone. I changed that by involving everyone in the nation's defense. Villagers were trained to report suspicious activity, creating a network of eyes and ears across the country. A farmer might spot a strange group in the bush and call it in. Teacher might notice unfamiliar faces in the village and alert the authorities. This unity turned Burkina Faso into more than a nation. It became a family, working together to protect our home. The wounds of the past are still there, but with every safe day, every reopened school, every bustling market, those wounds are healing, and a new Burkina Faso is rising. Violence doesn't just destroy homes, it destroys livelihoods. When insurgents swept through Burkina Faso, they choked our economy. Roads became too dangerous for trade, cutting off supplies to towns and cities. Markets emptied as traders fled, and businesses shuttered, leaving families with no way to earn a living. Farmers couldn't sell their crops, leaving fields and stomachs empty. The economy wasn't just struggling, it was collapsing, threatening to drag Burkina Faso into deeper despair. I knew that winning the war meant more than stopping attacks, it meant giving people a way to live, to work, to dream again. The focus on air power became a lifeline for the economy. Drones and air bases made roads safe again, letting traders travel without fear of ambushes. Markets reopened, their stalls filled with goods, bright fabrics, fresh vegetables, handmade tools. Farmers went back to their fields, growing crops that fed the nation and filled their pockets. Small businesses, from tailors to food vendors, started to thrive again. In one town, a woman named Fatou reopened her fabric shop after years of closure. With safe roads, she could buy materials from distant suppliers and sell her colorful designs, saving enough to send her daughter to school. Stories like Fatou's multiplied, breathing life into communities across Burkina Faso. The genius of this strategy was its efficiency. Drones were far cheaper than traditional military operations, allowing Burkina Faso to protect its people without draining its resources. Safe roads meant more trade, more jobs, and more money flowing through villages and towns. A farmer who could sell his crops could buy tools, hire help, and send his kids to school. A trader who could open her shop could expand her business, employing others. This ripple effect rebuilt the economy from the ground up, village by village. Burkina Faso wasn't just fighting insurgents, it was fighting for prosperity, proving that security and growth are two sides of the same coin. The nation's economy, once on the brink, was rising again, stronger and more resilient than ever. Our transformation didn't just save Burkina Faso, it reshaped the Sahel for years. The region had been a battleground, with insurgents crossing borders and spreading chaos. Countries like Mali, Niger, and Chad struggled to keep up, their armies stretched thin by relentless attacks. But Burkina Faso's success with drones and air power changed the narrative. A nation once seen as weak was now a leader, showing the world how innovation and determination could defeat even the toughest enemies. Neighbors took notice, sending delegations to study our strategies, eager to learn from a country that had turned the tide against insurgents. I became a symbol of hope for the region. My focus on technology and people showed that a small nation with limited resources could stand tall. Drones, once a rare sight in the Sahel, became a common tool as other countries adopted our model. Air bases like those I built began to appear in Mali and Niger, transforming the region's approach to security. Leaders across the Sahel met with me, seeking advice on training programs, drone operations, and community involvement. Burkina Faso wasn't just fighting for itself, it was lighting the way for others, proving that the Sahel could be more than a place of conflict. It could be a region of strength, unity, and hope. This wasn't just a military victory, it was a victory of spirit. The Burkinabe showed that hope could overcome fear, that unity could defeat division. From farmers reporting suspicious activity to pilots like Honorine flying drones, every citizen played a role. This collective strength inspired others, showing that a nation's power lies in its people, not just its weapons. Burkina Faso's story spread beyond the Sahel, catching the world's attention. Governments and organizations from Africa and beyond began to see us, not as a victim but as a model of resilience. The quiet nation once overlooked was now a shining example of what courage, innovation, and unity could achieve, a beacon for a continent seeking to rise. Burkina Faso's journey is far from over. We've risen from the ashes, but challenges remain. Insurgents still lurk in the Sahel, their threat diminished but not gone. The region's instability, with its porous borders and complex conflicts, demands constant vigilance. I know this, and I'm planning for the long term. New training programs are preparing the next generation of pilots, analysts, and technicians, ensuring our military stays ahead of the curve. Air bases are expanding, equipped with cutting-edge technology and stronger defenses. The economy is growing, but it needs to keep growing to lift every citizen out of poverty, to give every child a chance at education, every family a chance at prosperity. The heart of Burkina Faso's future is its people. Young men and women, like Honorine, are leading the way, showing that anyone can make a difference with the right tools and training. Communities are stronger than ever, united by a shared purpose. Farmers, traders, teachers, and students are all part of the nation's defense, watching out for each other, reporting threats, and rebuilding together. This unity is our greatest. We're more powerful than any drone or jet. It's the foundation of a nation that will not just survive, but thrive. A nation where every citizen has a voice, a role, and a stake in the future. As Burkina Faso looks to the road ahead, it carries a powerful message for the world. No nation is too small to dream big. The skies above the Sahel, once a place of fear, are now a symbol of hope, watching over a people who refuse to give up. The Burkina have shown that with courage, innovation, and unity, even the greatest challenges can be overcome. Our story is a testament to the power of a determined nation, a story that will inspire generations to come. Burkina Faso is no longer a quiet corner of the world, it's a beacon of strength, shining bright for Africa and beyond.